This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening. I'm Sabrina Brown. Thank you for joining us. All eyes are on Tropical Storm Kate, which developed after 8 this morning. Chief Meteorologist of the Freeport Met Office, Kirk James, gives the latest update from the storm, which is currently 90 miles southeast of Abaco.
Is expected to move near or just east of the Northwest Bahamas, Eastern Islands tonight into Tuesday, and then head off at a faster speed over the open Atlantic waters. So, Kate, the concern really is for the Abacos. It should be close enough to give them some squalls, flooding, and some winds. It's a 45-mile-an-hour tropical storm, so not too strong at all. If any squalls get close enough, we're looking for winds to become sustained at about 25 miles an hour, gusting to 35, so close to gale force. Any gust could be even to storm force, which is about 39 miles per hour.
The chief meteorologist also gives an update for Grand Bahama and Bimini.
They're more to the west, so we're looking for a few maybe quick passing squalls. Not much concern. The prevailing wind's going to be westerly, fairly light over Grand Bahama, 10 knots. No more than that. It gave up to 20 knots on the Abaco side, with higher gusts, of course, above 30 possible. So no real concern for our area's residents. Should still continue to watch it closely in the event that something changed.
Now, residents are urged to remain vigilant as the storm season doesn't end until November 30th. Exactly 1 year ago, the country was shaken by news of a deadly plane crash here on Grand Bahama that killed 9 people, including world-renowned author and teacher, senior pastor at Bahamas Faith Ministries, Pastor Myles Munroe. Tonight, a leader with BFM is taking a look at how that tragic loss has impacted the ministry. Italia Hall reports.
Yeah.
It's a day many won't forget. November 9, 2014, tragedy struck when a Lear 36 jet crashed while making an approach for landing in Grand Bahama. Dr. Myles Munroe, his wife, and 7 others were on that flight headed to Grand Bahama for a summit. News quickly spread throughout the Bahamas and the world as many discovered that one of the most influential men in the Bahamas had died. The pastor of Bahamas Faith Ministries in Freeport, Pat Roll, is still trying to come to terms with the tragic incident and the loss of 9 members of the BFM family.
Still not sure how I did it, other than the fact that I think Chow and Charissa needed more comfort, and Pastor Sheena needed more comfort than I did at the time. And so my feeling was almost neutralized in that I had to get to them and let them know that this has happened.
He says 1 year later the church has grown tremendously because Dr. Myles Munroe spent the last few years putting everything in place for the ministry.
Invariably what everybody did was we went back to what we learned over the years. And so there was almost a smooth transitioning in the midst of all the chaos of him not being there, Pastor Rich not being there, his wife not being there, Stanley and all the other persons on the airplane not being there. It wasn't a question what we should do, but let's go ahead and do what he would have expected us to do.
Roll says Dr. Myles Munroe was one of tourism's best assets and should be remembered as an ambassador for the Bahamas.
And I hope he's remembered not just for the teaching and the preaching, but for the benefit that the country derived from his travel, his going to other countries, and in every presentation he did, there was something about the Bahamas in that presentation. And so I hope he's remembered for that.
He says the legacy of Dr. Myles Munroe will live on, and all lives that were lost on that fateful day will always be remembered. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Italia Hall.
The tragic death of Dr. Myles Munroe has also inspired a songwriter. Megan Shepard has that story.
Trisky Smith says it was just 3 days following that tragic plane crash that she was in her den listening to a popular radio show when suddenly she fell asleep and the Holy Spirit began to give her the lyrics for this remembrance song. As she ventures into this new phase, she says she is nervous to share her gift.
When why came about, I remember talking to one of my girlfriends. I said, man, I got this song. I said, I don't know what to do with it. And she said, but you know what to do with it. I just don't know, because I said, it is so personal for me. And then, like, I start to get depressed. I start to cry because people are asking why. And God is saying He's called him to His kingdom for such a time as this, so no need to worry, not as for it. So, but the why has a lot of makers to touch the people, to touch the nation, to touch His children. So when you hear the song, you'll understand why it was written and why God said He's called him to the kingdom for such a time as this.
Smith says she has followed the life of Dr. Myles Munroe and the impact he had on nations across the world. She says that while he was a leader to millions, he was also a father.
And then it's a part for the children. You are an awesome father to your children and the world. We will always love you, even though we are apart. We will cherish every moment that we have spent together. We will keep your dreams alive forever and ever. And then it goes back to the chorus, why.
Smith's song Why is in the final stages of production, and she says she hopes to have it released during this week. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
A cross-sector of the community expected to turn out tonight as the local organization intensifies its fight for a decrease in power rates on Grand Bahama. A town meeting is set for the Grand Bahama Taxi Union Hall beginning at 7 o'clock. Ahead of tonight's meeting, a top official of the Grand Bahama Port Authority notes that they have been in discussions with this local organization and they share a common goal. Joan Davis-Roll reports.
It is a cause that members of the Coalition for Concerned Citizens and others have championed for some time now, the reduction of power on Grand Bahama, as hundreds of residents continue to live in the dark and without power. Now, as that organization led by Pastor Eddie Victor prepares to hold a town meeting, the vice chairman of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Sarah St. George, confirming that the port has been in talks with the group on an ongoing basis.
We are in dialogue with Pastor Eddie, and that is why primarily we were addressing how to bring a decrease into the rates of those residents specifically. Where we are today gives us an opportunity, I think, to make a positive impact, as opposed to where we would otherwise be, which is leaving things exactly the same. So I think this can be viewed as a positive, not a negative.
The bone of contention is a controversial proposal submitted to the port by the Grand Bahama Power Company. Sarah St. George says the port is firm regarding its stance to see a reduction, not an increase in power on this northern island.
It isn't as though suddenly now the power company has come to ask for an increase. It's very much specified by the framework agreement that we signed that said every 3 years there must be a re-examination of the whole package, which allows everything to be realigned and to plan forward for the next 3 years. That's the exercise that's going on now. Once it happens now, it won't happen again till January 2019. But again, I think there's a misperception for people to just assume that it's that everybody's sitting around deciding on an increase in rates, because that's not the case at all. It's very much a realignment of the assets. It's an examination of what has to be brought online in the next 3 years, and it's an examination of how can you actually bring costs down further in the way that we have to date.
Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
The third annual Culinary Fusion now in the history books and dubbed a success. The event taking place at the Pelican Bay Resort on Saturday. Megan Shepard takes a look.
Hundreds of Bahamians and tourists alike gathered to sample a wide array of delectables. 24 vendors took part, showcasing desserts, Bahamian delicacies, Asian food, healthy treats, Greek food, cocktails, and much, much more. Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, opened the Culinary Fusion, noting the growth of the event over the past years and the many benefits it offers to Grand Bahama.
Friends, November is recognized as Culinary Tourism Month on the island of Grand Bahama. And this year's Culinary Fusion is a great way to display the creativity of our local chefs, cooks from around the island of Grand Bahama, while allowing them to earn some money. Tourism It's very important to our island, and events like this become very signature calendar events that our tourism board can put in their calendar for tourists to come to experience the taste of the Bahamas.
Director in the Ministry of Tourism, Betty Bethel, says the event is actually being promoted internationally and has great potential to become a staple event to attract tourists.
It is the culture that sets us apart from anywhere else, and our culinary experiences is a major representation of our culture and heritage.
President of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Ian Roll, also noting the importance of the food and beverage sector to the island's economy.
We believe that it is an excellent platform to showcase the very best in food and beverage our island has to offer. The food and beverage industry is a core sector of Grand Bahama's economy. Not only does it add value to our tourism product for visiting guests, it also plays a key role in our domestic tourism product as well, by providing dozens of niche eateries throughout the island, which thousands of locals enjoy every day, evening, or weekend.
Sean Johnson, founder of the event and president of Move Marketing, welcoming participants and thanking vendors for believing in his vision.
I'm glad we're here today. It was a rough 4 to 6 months in planning between me, Ruth, and Jillian, and we made it.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Megan. Stay with us. There's more news after this.